Picture this. You blink, and the world forgets you. The clock on your wall has stopped. But not just stopped. It's gone. The sun no longer rises. Your breath makes no sound. There is no before, no after, no now. Only stillness, only you, and something watching. Time, not the time on your phone, not the time that runs your appointments, your memories, your regrets. No, the deeper one, the ancient one, the thing that has followed you since your first heartbeat and will outlive your last. Close your eyes. Not because you're dreaming, but because you're waking up. You are not in your bedroom anymore. You are in the folds between seconds, caught in the soft machinery that spins the stars and carves wrinkles into your face. You've stepped beyond the surface, where emperors still breathe, where your childhood isn't gone, where your death has already happened, and yet hasn't. Welcome. You're no longer moving through time. Time is moving through you, and it has questions. What if the past isn't behind you? What if the future isn't waiting? What if time isn't a line, but a loop, a mirror, a trap? What is time, really? Don't answer yet. Step in. Let it show you. You awaken, not by choice, but by displacement. It's not the sound of an alarm or a hand shaking your shoulder that pulls you into awareness. It's the absence of everything else. No breath in your lungs, no beat in your chest. You are conscious, but unanchored. The space around you is colorless, yet not white. It doesn't glow, it doesn't hum. It simply is. Like the idea of a room before anyone ever built one. No walls, no floor, no ceiling. Just a presence, just stillness, just space. And you, hovering in the middle of it. No sense of up or down, no sense of gravity. Your body is there, but also uncertain. You try to reach out, and your hand obeys, but it doesn't move through air. It moves through something softer, like breath, like memory, like nothing. There's no shadow when you move, because there is no light. But somehow you can see, not with your eyes, but with your awareness. And then it begins, the sound. A tick, not mechanical, not sharp, more like a drop of water falling into a lake made of silence. Tick, another, not evenly spaced, some far apart, some too close. Some echo for ages, others vanish instantly. You're not sure if it's a sound at all, or if it's something happening inside you, like your nervous system trying to make sense of something it was never built to comprehend. You try to speak, no words come, but your question forms like steam. Where am I? And something answers, not in words, not in sound, but in change. The room begins to pulse, not visibly, perceptually. The sensation of something enormous shifting around you, or within you, like a clock adjusting its rhythm, like a heart skipping a beat, then a voice. Not a voice like yours, a voice that has no gender, no age, no location, a voice that feels like standing in the middle of 1,000 years. It doesn't speak to your ears, it lands directly in your consciousness. You've left your timeline. You don't know what that means. Not exactly, but you feel it. Something about the way your breath doesn't fog, the way your thoughts don't follow one another in order, the way your memories are all bleeding into each other. Your childhood home smells like the hospital room where your grandfather died. The sound of your mother's laughter overlaps with the scream you tried to forget. Moments stacked, not sequenced, the voice continues. To understand time, you must let go of the way you've lived it. Here, there is no forward, no back, no now, only when. And even that word lies. The light changes, or the absence of light bends. Suddenly around you, or inside you, images flicker. Not images, experiences. They hover like ghosts, not in the room, but in your perception. You see your 5th birthday cake. You're blowing out candles. The frosting is blue. But in the same breath, you're also in a hospital bed at 79, holding someone's hand. The person is crying. They look like you. Your chest tightens. But there's no fear, only awareness. Your life, not in a line, but in layers. You're seeing it all at once. And then, it stops. Silence returns. The room, if it can be called that, tightens. You feel pressure, not physical, temporal. The voice again. You were taught to believe that time flows, that it moves forward like a river, like a story, like breath. But that's not what time does. That's what you do. Your mouth forms a silent word. Then, what is time? There is no answer. Instead, a sensation, like falling, but not downward, falling through something. You don't see stars, you see eras, a flash, the forging of a sword, another, the construction of a wooden clock in 13th century Europe, another, a nuclear clock vibrating inside a laboratory in the distant future, and then nothing. You're back in the room, but this time you feel it. Time is here, not as a sound, not as a ticking thing, as a pressure, a presence, like you're being watched by something older than physics, something that doesn't breathe but waits. It doesn't move, but it decides. You whisper into the nothing, "Are you time?" No response, only a deep, quiet folding, as if the space you're in is closing, like a page being turned, and you are printed on the paper. You understand something now? You've never really understood time. You've used it, obeyed it, feared it, measured it. But time itself, you've never met it. Until now. Then the voice again, low, soft, without malice, but with weight. You are ready. A doorway forms, not physical, perceptual. It's a sensation, like walking into a memory before it happens, a passage, a promise, a test. The voice finishes. To know time, you must walk it. Not just in one direction, not just once. Step through, and remember, everything you see has already happened, and is happening, and will happen again. You hesitate, not because you're afraid, but because part of you already knows what comes next, because you've lived it. You step forward, the world blurs, the room without time collapses behind you, and your journey begins. You fall, not through space, through when. The sensation is disorienting, not cold, not fast, not painful, just out of sync, like your heartbeat is detached from your body and is keeping rhythm somewhere else. You brace yourself. For what, you don't know. But then, impact. Not a crash, but a landing. Gentle, warm, you're barefoot, stone beneath you. The air is dry, thick with the scent of ink, clay, and distant incense. Your eyes adjust, though maybe it's not your eyes that do the adjusting. It's the moment reshaping itself around you. You are in Babylon, not the myth, the reality. Towering ziggurats loom like stairways to a forgotten sky. Men in long robes drag sticks through wet clay, carving tablets with markings you don't understand, but somehow recognize. They are measuring the stars, not for beauty, not for art, for time. You stand beside a priest astronomer on a rooftop at dusk. He looks at the sky the way a child watches a parent sleep, desperately hoping for consistency. Because the sun has patterns, the moon has moods, and if you watch closely enough, maybe, just maybe, you can make sense of when the floods will come, when the barley will grow, when your God will speak. He draws a symbol on a clay tablet, muttering a word that sounds like shatu, a year, Time here is a contract between man and sky, not a theory, not a clock, a promise. You turn, the rooftop melts. Now you're in a different city, still ancient. Athens. Cicadas hum in the trees. Philosophers argue beneath marble colonnades. You see a man in a linen robe pause, gaze at the sun, then press a stick into the dirt. The shadow stretches like a finger across the earth. He smiles. Time has cast a shadow. And suddenly, the moment feels recorded. You move through the agora, watching people barter, shout, laugh. You reach for a fig, but your hand passes through it. Of course. You're only visiting, but the past doesn't mind. It carries on without you. You stand still, and for a brief second, you feel it. The air itself holds memory. The light, the texture of the breeze, the temperature of the stone beneath your feet. These are not echoes. They are presences. You blink, and now you're somewhere else again. A snowy field. Russia, maybe. 19th century. Children run past you in heavy coats. One drops a mitten. You bend to pick it up, but the mitten is already in the child's hand again. You didn't move. Time corrected itself. You're beginning to understand. This isn't a slideshow of history. It's not a replay. You are not watching then. You are inside it. Every moment you thought was over still exists. The people who breathed here, their breath never stopped. It simply became part of the pattern. The voice returns, gentle this time, almost human. You are not traveling through time. You are remembering what was never forgotten. You think back to your own life, the memories you revisit when you're lonely, the regrets that return in dreams, the way a smell or song can make you feel like you're 12 again. You always thought those were illusions, remnants. But maybe they're real. Maybe you weren't remembering. Maybe you were visiting. You blink again. Now you're sitting in your childhood bedroom, the one with the glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling, the posters on the wall, the smell of crayon wax and dusty sunbeams. And there you are, across the room, a smaller version of you, cross-legged, holding a toy spaceship, mouth slightly open, eyes focused on nothing. You feel like crying, not out of sadness, but because it's all still here, all of it. The paint on the wall, the heartbeat of the house, the silence between seconds that only a child can hear. You walk closer. The child doesn't see you, but they pause, as if they feel something. Your presence, or their future brushing against them. The moment stretches, not in time, but in meaning. And then the room flickers. The bed vanishes. The stars on the ceiling peel away like ash. You are alone again, but you feel different. You whisper, "If the past is still here, is it really the past?" The voice replies, "You confuse memory with sequence. Time doesn't bury the past, it layers it. Every moment you have ever lived is still happening, just not to you, not yet. You're falling again, but this time it feels intentional. You're not being dragged, you're diving. You land on a street, familiar, too familiar. Your teenage self is ahead of you, standing in the rain, waiting for someone who never arrived. You remember this. You remember how long you stood there. You remember what you thought, the feeling of your wet socks, the way you counted cars. You're back in it, and you want to scream, "Go home! They're not coming!" But you can't, because this moment is sealed, not forgotten, just preserved. You want to reach into your own past and change it, but the moment isn't asking for rescue. It's asking to be witnessed. And for the first time in your life, you do. You don't rewrite it. You don't run from it. You watch, and it watches back. The voice returns. You think the past is behind you, but you wear it like a second skin. It holds you, shapes you, whispers in your decisions. You do not escape it. You echo it. Then, silence, and slowly the world around you fades. You are once again suspended, weightless, thoughtless, and the understanding begins to crystallize. Time does not move on without you. It keeps you. Every second you thought you survived, every joy, every heartbreak, still lives. Not in a book, not in a vault, in the fabric of the real. You were never moving forward. You were moving through memory. And memory was never just a mental trick. It was a map of all that still exists, waiting, not to be changed, but to be seen. The silence around you begins to tick, not softly, not kindly, but with mechanical insistence. Tick, tick, tick. You're no longer floating. You're standing on cobblestone. It's raining, the kind of rain that feels industrial, heavy, metallic. Your breath curls in the cold. Your boots, yes, you're wearing boots now, splash through puddles stained black with soot. Look up. The sky is gray, but not because it's night. It's choked by smoke. Stacks of it rise from the buildings around you. Chimneys stacked like weapons, coughing into the air. This is London, but not the one you visited on holiday. This is factory London, 1850. Steam and soot and discipline. A horn blares in the distance, long and guttural, not melodic. You flinch. Everyone else moves. The people around you are hunched, eyes lowered, footsteps rehearsed. Not because they're afraid, because they are timed. A bell rings. Then another. Then another. The rhythm of this place is not set by sunrise or seasons. It's set by the clock. You pass through the factory gates. Inside, noise, gears, metal, hissing steam. Everything is measured. Every hand, every shovel, every breath. You see a man glance up at a large wall clock. He clenches his jaw. He's late, and you feel the weight in his stomach. Not fear of being scolded, fear of being replaced. Because in this world, time is currency, and lateness is debt. You move past the machines, past the hammering, toward a small office. Behind glass, a woman writes in a ledger. Each name she writes is paired with a time. 6 a.m., 6:01, 6:03. The ink turns late people into numbers. It has no smell, but it stains. You whisper to yourself, "Where did time go? When did it start keeping score?" A whisper answers, not the timeless voice from before, but something else, sharper, sterner. It didn't start. You gave it permission. You built the cage, and now you wear it like a watch. You blink. Now you're in a school. A bell rings. Children shuffle. One glances at a paper on her desk. Math problems, time stamped. Another watches the clock above the door like it's a threat. Time is no longer a sky to wonder at. It's a rule, a limit, a god. Lunch is 22 minutes. Your test ends in 5. Your youth will expire in 16 years, 6 months, 3 days. A boy raises his hand to ask a question. The teacher shakes her head. No time. Move on. And the boy learns. Curiosity can't be measured, so it has no place here. You leave the classroom. The hallway transforms. Now it's an office. Fluorescent lights. Desks arranged like dominoes. Computer screens blinking blue. And again, the ticking. Tick, tick, tick. Every worker has a calendar, a planner, a deadline. You walk past rows of people with hollow eyes, fingers hovering over keyboards, souls tied to Outlook notifications. You pause beside a woman eating a salad at her desk. She's crying. Quietly. But she doesn't stop typing. Because lunch break ends in 6 minutes. Because her child has a fever. Because she hasn't seen the sky in days. You want to touch her shoulder to whisper, "You're allowed to stop." But the moment pushes past you. Time does not pause for grief. You're starting to feel it now. The pressure of this structure. Time, once a presence, is now a prison. You hear the voice again, the old one, the ancient one. This is what you did with freedom. You took the endless unfolding of the universe and chopped it into hours. You put a price on the eternal. You whisper, almost without meaning to. We had to. We needed order. The voice responds, not cruelly, but with heavy sorrow. And now you are drowning in it. You're back on the street. The rain hasn't stopped. The fog is thicker now. You stand at a crosswalk. A red light flashes. A man beside you curses under his breath. He's late. His watch says so. But the birds in the sky don't know he's late. The trees don't. The raindrops don't care. Time for them is rhythm, not regulation. You look up at the city clock tower. It chimes, loud, heavy, royal, and you feel it in your chest. Not the time, but the control. This was never about seconds. It was about power. Because if time can be measured, it can be owned. And if it can be owned, it can be sold. You close your eyes. You remember being a child before you knew what time meant. You remember running through grass, not because you were on break, but because the wind called you. You didn't ask the sun for permission to feel joy. You just felt it. Back then, a day could last forever, or end in a blink, because time wasn't tyranny. It was texture. You open your eyes, the city fades, and the voice, almost a whisper in the dark, you gave the clock too much power. You mistook precision for truth. But time isn't cold metal or digital glow. It's the breath between thoughts, the space between heartbeats, the hush before a kiss. You float again, free from bells, free from deadlines, and for a moment you wonder, what would life feel like without the tyranny of the clock? Absolutely. Here is, you feel it snap. Not a sound exactly, more like a tear in pressure. A rupture in something invisible, like a bowstring released, but with no arrow. And suddenly everything you've known about motion, about order, about cause and effect, begins to unthread. You're in a kitchen. Your hands are cracking an egg. The shell breaks, the yolk falls, the whites bloom out like silk. You reach for a whisk, distracted. And then, it happens. The yolk rises, back into the shell. The whites swirl inward. The shell knits itself shut, unbroken. You didn't reverse the video. You're still here, still breathing, still blinking, but time has reversed. You watch the egg return to the moment before the moment. The pan unheats. The butter leaps back into its stick. Your hand uncracks, and you are stunned. Because it doesn't feel fake. It doesn't feel like a trick. It feels possible. The room dissolves. Now you're in a forest. The ground is scorched. Blackened trees like fingers clawing at a sky turned orange by smoke. You walk through the ashes, then pause. Because ahead, something moves. Backwards. The embers unburn. The fire curls in reverse, shrinking instead of growing. Charred branches refill with leaves. Green surges up from the dirt like time-lapse footage. Only real. The fire never happened. Or perhaps it always did, and always undid. You touch the bark of a restored tree. It's warm, but underneath the warmth, there's a residue, like memory. This tree remembers burning, even though it never did. And you understand. The arrow of time isn't fixed. It's something we believe in, not something that always is. Suddenly, you're in a room, familiar, bright. A pendulum swings, tick-tock, tick-tock. You watch it, mesmerized, steady, predictable. Left, right, forward, back. Then, the pendulum stops, midair. The room around you goes silent. And then, slowly, it swings the other way. But not just the pendulum. Everything. The dust in the air floats backward. Voices rewind. Footsteps unecho. And then you see yourself. You, standing where you just stood, now walking backwards. Your movements precise, fluid, unaware. You are no longer the one acting. You are the aftermath. A whisper returns. This is time without the arrow. Not a line, but a field. Not forward or backward, just change. Entropy is not law. It is memory. You are somewhere else now, floating again. But this time there's no direction. Not up, not down, not future, not past. Moments begin appearing around you. Not in order, not in story, but like stars blinking in and out of a night sky. You reach for one. It's the day you met someone you loved. You feel the warmth in your chest. You hear their laugh. You smell the air. And then, gone. Another. You're 10 years old. You're crying in a dark room. Something broke, something inside. And yet the pain isn't overwhelming, because it's just a layer. Then, a moment that hasn't happened yet. You see a hospital bed. You're older. Someone is holding your hand. You don't know who they are, but they are crying. For you. You recoil, and then you reach for it again, because now you understand. Time isn't flowing, it's echoing. It's all already there. You begin to see it now. The so-called arrow of time was always your illusion, a story your brain tells itself so it doesn't unravel. After all, how could you live if you knew your joy and grief and death were all happening simultaneously? But that's the truth, isn't it? They are. All of it. You are now back in that forest, but this time it's neither burned nor green. It's both. You see one tree burning, another growing, a bird flying forward, a branch regrowing backward. It's madness, but also music. This isn't time in collapse. This is time in its true form. Non-linear, non-local, non-human, a lattice of change, an ocean of cause folding in on effect, folding in on cause. You kneel and press your hand into the earth. It's warm, but in that warmth is everything. A million pasts, 1,000 possible futures, and this exact moment, not above them, but inside them. The voice returns, this time softer than ever. You lived in time as if it was a current. But time is not a river. It is a sea. You can sail, you can sink, you can be still. But there is no one direction. Only the illusion of current made by your own heartbeat. You press your hand to your chest, and you realize something terrifying and beautiful. You are the metronome. Your perception is the arrow. Time does not march. You do. You close your eyes. The forest fades, the pendulum stops. You are still, suspended, and for once you feel no rush, no before, no after, just presence. And in that stillness, a final whisper, the arrow breaks. But you remain, not because you move through time, but because time moves through you. You are no longer falling, no longer floating. You are simply here. But where is here, if not part of when? The light has no source. It isn't coming from above or behind. It's simply everywhere, soft, warm, constant. You try to look around, but there's nothing to see. And yet, somehow everything feels present, as if the entire history of the world has been packed into this moment, compressed into a single breath. A voice rises, not the ancient one, not the guiding one, but yours, inside your chest. No words, just a question. Is this now? And something deep within you answers, yes, but also always. You begin to sense it, not through sight or sound, but through a kind of timeless intuition. You are in the eternal present, a place, or perhaps a state, where all things exist at once. You feel yourself multiply. You are standing, you are crying, you are being born, you are dying, all at the same time, and none of it is confusing, because time isn't stretching, it's disappearing. There is no waiting, there is no remembering, there is only being. A room forms around you, no walls, no furniture, only windows. But these aren't windows into the outside. They're windows into moments. Each one shows you something you know, but they don't replay. They glow. You move from one to the next. A first kiss. You feel the warmth on your lips, not like memory, like contact. A hospital corridor. You hear someone scream behind a closed door. It's your voice. A sidewalk. Autumn leaves. Someone you've forgotten turns and smiles. You remember how you once believed that smile could save you. Each window shows something personal, but the windows don't move. You do, and they remain, still, waiting, like doorways that never closed. You whisper, "These are my past." But the voice, the old one, interrupts, "No, these are your moments, not past, not gone, not faded. Alive, simultaneous, stacked." You reach toward one. A small quiet frame of a time you once stood on a rooftop and watched the stars. The moment flickers to life. You feel the cold stone beneath your hands, the endlessness of the sky, the ache in your chest that felt too large for your body. You watch your younger self, not with pity, not with distance, but with something closer to recognition. You were there. You are still there, because now isn't a point in a line. It's the entire line, the pen, the hand that moves it, and the silence before the first word. You hear breathing, not yours. Another version of you sits beside you now, older, weathered, eyes like moons. They don't speak, they just sit, knowing, present. You turn to them. You don't ask who they are. You ask, "Are we the same?" They smile, and it feels like yes, but also no. Because in the eternal now, everything exists, but everything remains itself. The younger you, the older you, the broken you, the ecstatic you, all of them are you. But none of them are you now, because you now is all of them, held together by the thread of presence. You begin to see more windows, but these aren't yours. They're everyone's. Strangers, friends, people you've never met, people who don't exist yet, moments blooming like constellations, births, wars, laughs in kitchens, sobs in bathrooms, explosions of galaxies, the final thoughts of forgotten lives, and all of them, right now, not waiting, not remembering, just being. And then you see something terrifying and beautiful. Your death. It isn't metaphor, it isn't a warning. It's just another window. You see yourself, older, still, at peace. There's a quiet in that image that floods your chest. You don't recoil. You don't run. Because here, in the eternal now, death is not an ending. It's a place, a note in the song, a frame in the reel, a word between breaths. You whisper, "Then I was never meant to outrun time." The voice answers, "You were meant to remember that you are part of it." The light around you begins to pulse, not quickly, just once, like a heartbeat that belongs to the universe itself. You feel every moment you've lived, settle inside you, not behind you, not ahead, inside. You are a vessel for the now, not a victim of time, not a passenger on its river, but the entire ocean, remembering its waves. You close your eyes, but you don't disappear, because now you realize something so simple and so terrifyingly free. Nothing is coming. Nothing is gone. Everything is now. You feel it begin to dissolve. Not your body, not your thoughts, not even the moment around you, but time itself. The architecture, the scaffolding of before, after, even now, begins to crumble quietly, like snow melting on stone. You look around for anchors. There are none. No windows, no sky, no pulse. Just a blankness so complete it feels alive. A silence so deep it erases even the memory of sound. You do not float. You do not fall. You simply unfold. This is the space beyond time, not eternity, not forever, but the absence of progression. There's no motion here, no change, and therefore, no meaning. Because meaning comes from difference, and difference comes from time. And now that it's gone, so is the story. A strange thought enters you. What is a self without time? You try to answer, but language fails. Words depend on sequence, syntax, memory, intent. Here, none of those exist. You feel the question hover in you, like a breath that can never be released. Moments drift by, or maybe they don't. Maybe it is just you, unraveling into your components, not dying, not sleeping, just no longer arranged. You begin to notice what's missing. No hunger, no hope, no fear, no curiosity, no pain. Not because you are numb, but because all those things require time to contrast against. Here, where nothing follows anything, there is no desire, only presence, and even that word begins to collapse. Because to be present, there must be something to be present to. And now, there is not. You remember, vaguely, what it meant to be afraid of death, the tick of your body winding down, the rush to do, say, fix, forgive, the sand slipping through the hourglass. But here, there is no hourglass, no sand, only space, uncounted, unshaped. You remember thinking once that eternity would be like this, but you were wrong. This isn't eternity. This is what exists after time dies. And yet, something begins to rise. Not sound, not sight. Attention. Faint. Small. Like the first flicker of a match in a dark, ancient cave. It is you. Some essence of you. Not your name, not your face, but the part that always watched. The observer. You focus, or maybe you don't. There's no direction to turn toward. But this presence sharpens. And with it comes a question. Not spoken, not written, just known. Do you want to return? The moment shudders, and suddenly you understand what return would mean. Return to linear time, to cause and effect, to heartbreak and laughter, to skin, to separation, to the illusion of sequence, to the beauty of it. Because for all its limitations, time gave you meaning. It gave you story. It gave you change. It gave you the ability to choose. And you realize, without time, you cannot love. Because love requires a before, and a now, and a maybe. And so, you answer. You don't say yes. You remember yes, and the universe responds. It begins with breath, the concept of breath, the motion of breath. Then, wait, your hands, your spine, your eyelids. Then, sound, a distant wind, a soft hum, a heartbeat, your heartbeat. You open your eyes, and you are somewhere. Not nowhere, not the void, but somewhere. The place is not familiar, but the rhythm is. Seconds pass. You feel them, not as tyranny, not as prison, as texture. You laugh. You actually laugh. Because after all this, after standing inside timelessness, you are back in the story. And you understand now. Time didn't die. It hid. To show you what you were without it. And what it was without you. The voice returns, but no longer as thunder or whisper. It is your own voice. Calm. Whole. You feared time because you thought it would take things from you. But time isn't a thief. It's a canvas. It doesn't erase. It holds. You look up at the sky. It's dusk, or maybe dawn. You don't need to know which. because you feel the return of something far more sacred than knowledge. Sequence, a before, a now, an after. And with it, the joy of not knowing, because mystery lives in motion, and time has begun to breathe again. So have you. You open your eyes, not metaphorically, not in some void beyond time, but truly physically, completely. You're lying down, not floating, not pulsing in light, just lying down. There's a ceiling overhead. It has cracks, real ones. You hear birds outside, wind pressing gently against a window pane. Somewhere, distantly, a car passes. It's not spectacular. It's just life. But to you, it feels like waking up in a world that was only rumor before. You sit up, your hands move, your breath fogs the glass. Time is back. But it's not what it was. You don't feel rushed. You don't feel chased. You feel held inside the arms of a rhythm you once mistook for a threat. You rise to your feet, and for a moment you don't do anything else. You just exist, the way the sunlight bends through the window, the dust hovering in the air, the subtle groan of wood expanding in warmth. These things were always here, but you never noticed. Not like this. You step outside. Everything moves. A leaf falls. A dog barks. Somewhere a child laughs. Not because of anything, just because now was enough to laugh about. And suddenly you realize you're not in time anymore. Not the way you were. You're not running ahead of it. You're not lost behind it. You are inside it, like a fish in water, like breath in lungs, like music in a moment that doesn't know it's beautiful yet. People pass you on the sidewalk, hurrying, talking, scrolling. Some look tired, some distracted, some angry. You want to tell them. You want to stop someone, anyone, and say, "Did you know that this second, this one, is not disposable? That this step you're taking is a miracle of coordination and gravity and breath?" But you don't, because you understand now. Words can't wake someone who isn't ready. And time, real time, isn't something you explain. It's something you meet, quietly, gently, with your eyes open. You sit on a park bench. You watch a teenager kiss someone for the first time. Their fingers are shaking, but their eyes are sure. You watch an old woman feed birds. She hums a tune with no name. Maybe she's been humming it for 60 years. You watch a father lift his child just high enough that the kid believes he can fly. None of them see you, but you see them, and they are perfect. Not flawless, not eternal. Perfect in the way only fleeting things can be, and time is singing. You remember all the places you've just been, the symposium of stars in ancient Babylon, the forest that unburned, the face of yourself at 8 years old, the moment of your own death. You remember the silence beyond time, and the breath that returned. It all happened. It's all still happening. And that's the secret, isn't it? The journey wasn't through time. It was through perception. You didn't learn what time is. You remembered what time does. It teaches. It heals. It erodes what isn't real and sharpens what is. Time doesn't wait, but it doesn't rush either. It simply invites. You stand again. Your body feels familiar now. Not a costume, not a cage, a clock. One that ticks not with seconds, but with intention. You place your hand on your chest. Your heart is beating, but not to escape death, to announce presence. You are here, not by accident, not by demand, but by some quiet, cosmic permission. You walk home. The day is ordinary, but nothing will ever be ordinary again, because now you see the folds. Now you feel the layers. Now you know that every street corner, every photo, every silence holds more than memory. It holds continuity. You are not a traveler through time. You are its participant, its echo, its brief song. And when the final moment comes, whenever it comes, you will not fear it, because you've been there, because you've been everywhere. You reach your door. Your key turns in the lock. The sound is imperfect, beautiful. Inside, the air smells like your pillow. Your books wait for you like loyal companions. Your reflection in the hallway mirror looks the same, but you know it isn't. You are back, but you are not the same, and neither is time, because now you carry each other. What is time, really? Not an arrow, not a clock, not a prison, not even a story. Time is the ocean we are written into, the brush stroke behind every breath, the silent witness of love and change and endings. And you are not running out of it. You are part of it, always were, always will be. Welcome back.